Have you ever noticed that your life got harder after you started praying? Before you committed to your new prayer life, things were relatively calm, manageable, predictable and easy. But the moment you got serious with God and started praying with intention, all hell broke loose. Suddenly, attacks came from every direction. Relationships got strained. Finances got tight. Health issues surfaced. Doors that were open slammed shut. And you're sitting there thinking, what happened? But let me tell you something that will shift your entire perspective. The attack didn't come because your prayer failed. It came because your prayer worked. As it turns out, there are 5 major reasons you get attacked after prayers. The first reason is because your prayer has shifted you from being an observer into confrontation. Let me explain. Before you started praying with intensity, you existed unnoticed. You were spiritually passive. You weren't threatening anyone. You weren't disrupting anything. You were just going through the motions of life without really engaging the spirit realm. But prayer changed that. Prayer turned you into another type of person who became noticed by the devil. And a prayerful Christian is always known in the spirit. When you align with God's agenda, you become visible to forces that previously ignored you. You cross a boundary. And crossing boundaries provokes forces of darkness. Territorial spirits that had no reason to fight you before now see you as a jurisdictional threat. Look at Daniel. In Daniel chapter 10 verse 12, the angel tells him, "Fear not, Daniel. For from the first day that thou didst set thine heart to understand, and to chasten thyself before thy God, thy words were heard, and I am come for thy words." From the first day, heaven heard Daniel immediately, but the answer was delayed for 21 days. Why? Verse 13 explains, "But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days." A demonic prince resisted the angel carrying Daniel's answer. This wasn't because Daniel prayed wrong. It was because his prayer triggered warfare in the heavenly realm. His words were heard immediately, but the manifestation was contested. Prayer changed the jurisdiction. It moved Daniel from passive observance into active spiritual confrontation. Prayer does not first change circumstances. It changes the atmosphere. This is why you're under attack. You prayed, and something shifted in the spirit realm. You decided to change something the enemy was comfortable with you not knowing. You entered territory the enemy thought he controlled, and now he's fighting to push you back. So what do? First, do not retreat. Do not apologize for praying. Do not second-guess your obedience. Stand your ground with continuity. Consistency completes what intensity started. Ephesians chapter 6 verse 13 says, "And having done all, to stand." After you've prayed, after you've resisted, after you've declared, after you've warred, stand. Don't run, don't quit, don't negotiate, stand. The second reason you're facing attacks after prayer is because prayer has exposed hidden agreements that were dormant. Some battles awaken not because prayer created them, but because prayer revealed them. Light does not create darkness. It exposes it. When your prayer life deepens, old foundations begin to shake. Things that were buried start to surface. Agreements you didn't even know existed begin to manifest as resistance. Scripture says in Habakkuk chapter 3 verse 10, "The overflowing of the water passed by. The deep uttered his voice and lifted up his hands on high. When the Spirit moves, the foundations of the deep are uncovered. What was hidden rises. What was dormant awakens." Not because prayer caused it, but because prayer exposed it. This is why attacks intensify when long-standing permissions are being revoked. The enemy fights hardest when eviction is near. If he senses that prayer is about to break generational patterns, cancel old covenants, or dismantle hidden altars, he will escalate warfare to protect his legal ground. The enemy doesn't fear your prayers. He fears what your prayers are about to uncover. Think about it. If something has been operating in your life for years, depression, poverty, sickness, confusion, rejection, and suddenly you start praying with authority, That thing doesn't just leave quietly. It fights, it manifests, it intensifies, not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're doing something right. You're addressing the root, not just the symptoms. And roots don't come out without resistance. So what you must do is first move from general prayer into deliberate renunciation. Stop praying vague prayers like "Lord, bless me," and start praying specific prayers like, "You renounce every hidden problem in your bloodline." Colossians chapter 2 verse 14 speaks of the handwriting of ordinances being blotted out and nailed to the cross. Some things require specific cancellation. The third reason you're facing attacks after prayer is because prayer has moved you closer to a higher assignment, not comfort. Here's a hard truth most Christians don't want to hear. Prayer is not a shelter. Prayer is a summon. Prayer is not designed to make your life more comfortable. It's designed to make you ready for assignment, ready for warfare, ready for purpose. Look at Jesus. In Matthew chapter 3 verse 16, he's baptized and heaven opens. The Father speaks. The Spirit descends like a dove. It's a beautiful, supernatural moment. But what happens immediately after? Matthew chapter 4 verse 1 says, "Then was Jesus led up of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil." Led by the Spirit into the wilderness, into confrontation, into testing. This wasn't punishment. This was positioning. Jesus had just been publicly affirmed by the Father. His identity was declared, his mission was confirmed, and immediately the enemy showed up to challenge it. Why? Because assignment attracts resistance. The clearer you are about who you are and what you're called to do, the more hell will fight to stop you. The enemy does not fight movement. He fights purpose. Wandering people don't get attacked. Assigned people do. So if attacks came after you started praying, it's not because God is mad at you. It's because prayer clarified your assignment, and your assignment is a threat to the kingdom of darkness. You're no longer wandering. You're advancing. You're no longer confused. You're clear. And clarity provokes warfare. What do? First, interpret pressure correctly. Stop asking, "Why is this happening?" Start asking, "What is this preparing me for?" Second, understand that suffering connected to assignment is not punishment. It's preparation. Romans chapter 8 verse 18 says, "For I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us." The pressure you're facing now is forming something in you that the next season requires. Don't retreat from assignment because of resistance. If anything, resistance confirms you're on the right path. The enemy doesn't waste energy on